So that was the only slightly complicated bit, so to say, of this review, or in general, the review on macroeconomics. The rest of the concepts will be more intuitive and more stuff that you can directly relate to, and the concepts of demand and supply. So once again, moving on to the expenditure approach of calculating the GDP. We studied that the GDP is equal to C plus I plus G plus X. That is the GDP that is consumed, or consumption by investments, or consumption by the government, or the net exports. So whatever our country produces in this particular period can either be consumed by the people, can be consumed by businesses, can be consumed by the government, or can be consumed by foreigners. That is the net exports. Now, please understand what factors will influence each of these items. So, consumption will be a function of the personal disposable income that we studied earlier. So, if personal incomes or disposable incomes in the country go up, generally the consumption spending will go up. How does this go up? If incomes go up, taxes going down, more subsidies given to the people, more transfer payments by the government to households or to people will all increase the consumption part of the GDP. Please remember, in most GDPs across the world today, be it China, be it the US, be it any other economy, consumption is a very big part. In this whole CIGX calculation, if we split actually the data amongst countries, consumption will be a very big part of every country's GDP today. However, it is also the most stable, or it is a very stable part of most countries' GDP. The C, that is the consumption by households, generally does not vary too much. Investments by corporates varies a lot. Government spending can also vary a lot. Exports that your country is doing vary a lot, depend on many factors. Consumption is an important big component. A lot of countries today, especially, and we are in 2016, want to promote domestic consumption, or they want their own economies to grow, their own people to consume their own goods more. So if we consume more of the products within our country, the C will grow. If we if we consume more from outside, or if we buy more from abroad, the GDP will go down because our imports will increase. So governments and a lot of factors today want to increase consumption or domestic consumption. It is generally seen to be a big stable part of most economies today. What affects consumption? It is the marginal propensity to consume versus the marginal propensity to save. So if we get $1 of additional income, then consumption spending will go up to the extent of our marginal propensity to consume. So the marginal propensity to consume plus the marginal propensity to save is equal to 1. If marginal propensity to consume is, let's say, 0.6, that means if we receive $100 more, if our income goes up by $100 more, then $60 we will consume and $40 we will save. Generally speaking, in countries where the GDP is not very high, GDP level of per capita GDP is low, marginal propensity to consume is seen to be relatively higher. That is, if people's income goes up a little bit, they will consume more. Whereas in mature economies and in a lot of the developed world today, we're seeing the marginal propensity to save is higher. So if income goes up, more tends to be saved, because these economies are already at a very high level of consumption. So people are already consuming whatever they need. They are consuming good quality things, they are consuming whatever they need. So incomes going up generally result in more savings rather than more consumption. So it's an important gauge in an economy. We need to see what is the marginal propensity. See, marginal is the important term. That is, a dollar additional income, how much will be consumed versus how much of it will be saved. So marginal propensity to consume plus the marginal propensity to save must equal 100% or must equal 1. Investment is a function of the profitability, rather the expected profitability and the cost of financing. So I is the business owners, or rather the incorporated companies spending in the economy, or how much will businesses invest in a particular year. They will invest more if profitability is expected to be good, or if cost of financing is low, or if future expectations of profits are good. So again, the real interest rates, outlook on the business, confidence in the economy, all this will affect business investment. Confidence in the economy is high, outlook is good, business investments we've seen generally go up, and vice versa. Real interest rates we studied, it is a nominal minus expected inflation. Higher real interest rates also we have seen dampen investments. Lower interest rates we have seen promote investments, as entrepreneurs can easily borrow and start up new ventures. Government spending is the spending done by government, and we've discussed in social, police, judiciary, hospitals, schools, etc. Generally, it can be considered to be independent. That is, all these activities will be done regardless of the economic level. I will still provide all these services to the people, what I need to. But to some extent, this has been seen to be correlated with tax revenues. Generally, when tax revenues go up, government spending also goes up. Maybe not in these regular schemes, but additional investment in infrastructure, additional investment in transfer payments, so on and so forth. And we've seen that when tax revenues go down, the spending comes down a little. However, some economists, and logically we can consider it independent of economic activity also. How much do we export will again be a function of domestic disposable incomes versus foreign disposable incomes. So if foreign disposable incomes are higher, probably we'll export more and import less. However, if our disposable incomes are higher, we probably might export less and import more. It will also discuss, or it will also depend on the currency exchange rates and the relative prices of goods in the foreign versus the domestic markets. We'll study more in the international trade and currencies when we do. So just a brief description of what affects the four components, that is CIGX of the aggregate demand. Now, the aggregate demand curve gives us a relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. Price goes down, quantity demanded goes up, and vice versa. Price goes up, quantity demanded comes down. We are doing this, or we are studying this at a macro level. Now, just like we study demand at a macro level, we can also study supply at a macro level. Now, this is the aggregate supply of the country, or the aggregate output, or the aggregate GDP that the country produces. Now, the aggregate supply describes a relationship between the price level and the quantity of real GDP supplied, while all other factors are kept constant. Now, at the moment, when you think of supply, you can think of it as you learned in microeconomics. Supply depends on labor, it depends on raw materials, it depends on land, etc. The inputs we need to produce any good. And we'll make it more at a macro level in the coming slides. But just recall that the supply curve in microeconomics was an upward sloping curve. That is, as prices went up, you can supply more goods, or the quantity supplied can go up. In macroeconomics, it is the same phenomena that happens in the short run, or this demand curve that this supply curve that we studied in microeconomics is called the short run aggregate supply curve. That is, the aggregate supply that my economy can produce also depends on the price level. That is, as price level goes up, aggregate supply can go up. So in the short run, we assume that output prices will change proportionately to the price level, but at least some input costs will be sticky. That is, they will not go up as fast as the price level. Hence, firms' profitability will improve. If firms' profitability will improve as price levels go up, firms will respond by increasing the output. So why do firms produce more? Recall from microeconomics. Why do firms increase output when prices go up? It's because they can earn more profit. If they can earn more profit, or if some firms had just stopped production because they were not profitable at the current price level, they can now come back into the production process at the higher price level because the profitability has improved and they can produce more. Similar happens in macroeconomics. Even at a country level, we can produce more if we see prices go up. And we are assuming that, okay, labor prices remain sticky or wages don't go up in the short run. In the short run, supply can go up as price level goes up. However, the issue in macroeconomics is that at the end of the day, our ability to supply at a world level, at a country level or at a world level is limited. It is limited by what? It is limited by the population. It is limited by all the land that the world has and all the resources that the world has and all the raw material that the world has. At any point in time, at a given level of technology or at the current level of technology, I'm assuming that technology doesn't change. At the current level of technology, the maximum output that the world can produce, is it limited or is it infinite? Can the earth produce infinite goods, or do you think it is limited by the number of people we have and the number of resources we have? It is limited. So in the long run, the aggregate supply curve is completely inelastic. This is a very inelastic curve, or a perfectly inelastic curve. That is, even though prices are changing, the aggregate supply that the world can produce does not change. At any price level, the total supply is the same. This happens when we are at full employment GDP. This level is referred to as the potential GDP or full employment GDP. This is the GDP that the country is making or the world is making when everybody is fully employed. If every person is working at the level or at his best level of productivity, at his current skill set, then no matter what the price, no matter how high the price goes up, can we produce more? We cannot, because everybody is already working and producing whatever they can. In the short run, we can produce more. That is, we can go above the full potential GDP. People can be overemployed. In the short run, if prices go up, can I make the people work overtime? Let's say the full employment GDP is calculated using an 8 hours work day, 5-day week. If prices are high in the short run, can people work 9 hours a day? Can people work for 6 days a week? Yes, because the prices are good. In the short run, we may go above the full potential GDP also. We may be below the full potential GDP. That is, there may be unemployment, that some people are laid off. What are the reasons? We can discuss. But remember, the short run supply curve is an upward sloping curve, pretty much like you discussed in microeconomics. However, the long run aggregate supply curve is a perfectly inelastic curve. That is, it does not change with price at a given technology level. That is the full potential GDP. How both of these curves shift up or down, we will study in the coming slides. But just understand the concept, okay? Don't worry about the very short run aggregate supply, which is perfectly elastic. That is, in the very short run, he says producers will immediately increase or decrease production depending to increase or decrease in demand, which is fine. You can ignore that. The short run and the long run. Short run, people can be overemployed. In the long run, we are already at full potential, or we're producing as much as we can. Now, just like in microeconomics, we studied that changes in price cause a movement along the curve. Changes in other factors cause a shift in the curve. If the price level goes down, demand goes up. If other factors change, there will be a shift in the curve. Shift can be towards the positive, or it can be towards the negative. Now, let's quickly understand the factors that will cause a shift in the aggregate demand. If price level changes, or rather, please answer if price level in the economy remains the same, however, our currency depreciates. At the same price, will we now demand less or more? Earlier, we had some import demands, which we could afford because our currency was valuable. So we could buy it. Now will we be able to afford it? Will we be able to afford the imports that we did when our currency was at a high level? If the yen depreciates at the moment as it is, or rather as it has been happening, do we travel more to Japan and we consume more in Japan? Half of China is doing that at the moment. The demand for Japanese products is through the roof because since the Japanese yen has collapsed, it affects China's domestic consumption. It affects the domestic producers, because if we produce or if we import more from Japan, we will consume less of our own products. If the currency depreciates, if the yen depreciates, rather if the yuan depreciates, then Japanese products will not be as cheap. They will be expensive. Our demand for imports will go down. Our aggregate demand, if we can't import it, we will consume it. It will happen from the domestic economy. So the aggregate demand will go up. Aggregate demand means the demand from products within our economy. If the currency appreciates, then we will demand less within our, that means the prices in our country become more expensive. If our currency appreciates, that means foreign goods become cheaper to us. We will be able to import more and consume less of our own domestic goods. The supply curve will shift to the left. It was a bit slightly complicated example. Let's take a simpler example. If your incomes go up, or rather, if expectations of profits go up, what will happen to the aggregate demand? Price level is the same, but the expectation of, or the outlook on the world goes up, becomes better. What will happen to the demand? It will shift to the right. For the same price, we will demand more. That is, at least businesses we know will invest more, because the outlook of profits in the future is good. If you find out that problems are being resolved, political differences between economies are being sorted out, there is no tension in amongst countries, then businesses will be more eager to expand. They will know that, okay, They will want to set up more factories because they know they can expand into other countries also later on. They would want to build scale. So if expectations of profits go up, then for the same price level, demand will go up. And if expectations or outlook becomes bad, then even the price level hasn't changed, demand can go down. So remember, other factors cause a shift in the demand curve. Now, what are some of the factors? I gave some example. I gave an example of currencies. If consumers' wealth increases, that is, the value of their real estate goes, their stocks appreciate, whatever you are holding. As consumers' wealth increases, we've seen that spending increases or aggregate demand increases. As business expectations improve, as people become more optimistic about future sales, investment in plant and inventory again will increase. If expectations reduce, this component reduces. If expectations of future income again improve, then the curve will shift to the right. If expectations deteriorate, the curve will shift to the left. If capacity utilization improves, that is, again, it's linked to the outlook and it's linked to the business expectations. If we see that our plants are running at full capacity because of better demand, then it's likely we will invest in more capacity, or we would like to expand our capacity. So if capacity utilization in the economy improves, again, demand will increase, or investments in the businesses or investments in the economy will increase. So again, if my expectation of my salary improves, if I think I'm going to easily find a job, even if my current boss fires me, I can easily find a job in some other company. In such a scenario, I'll be spending more than in a scenario where I know if I lose my job, it will be very tough for me to find another job. I would want to be more secure about my life. I'll spend less. So your income, your outlook on your own future income will also determine your consumption spending. If either of these things changes, the aggregate demand can shift even at the same price level. If monetary policy is expansionary, we'll study this in more detail. But remember, if central bank cuts interest rates, that is, if interest rates go down, demand at the same price level increases. Investments also increase. Personal consumption also increases because it is being financed more easily. If fiscal policy is expansionary monetary policy, just think of it as interest rates going down. When we'll study monetary and fiscal policy in a lot more detail. Expansionary fiscal policy means government spending is going up. Or you can say tax rates are coming down. At the same price level, if government cuts income taxes, again, demand will go up. At the same price level, if government increases taxes, demand will go down. If government increases spending, then G directly improves. If G improves, government spending and demand from the government will go up. Remember, expansionary fiscal policy will shift the demand curve to the right. Contractionary fiscal or monetary policy will shift the demand curve to the left. A decrease in the value of the currency will increase exports and decrease imports. Both of these tend to increase domestic aggregate demand. That is, if the currency depreciates, the demand curve shifts to the right. That is, aggregate demand increases. If currency appreciates, as we also discussed, if our currency appreciates, our domestic demand will reduce because we will import more from outside. We will help some other countries' GDP at the expense of our own GDP. If our currency appreciates, we consume more from abroad because things abroad become cheaper. It reduces our GDP, helps the other countries' GDP. So these are some of the factors that affect or that will shift the demand curve. If global economic growth improves. This is our demand curve at the moment, price and quantity demanded. Now, tomorrow the global economic outlook improves or global economic growth becomes better. What will happen to the demand curve? To the right or left? It will shift to the right. We can export more. And of course, if global outlook improves, even our outlook improves. For other reasons also, we will consume more, but we can definitely export more if global economic growth is good. So for the same price, demand will shift to the right. With the same logic, as far as supply is concerned, there are two factors that we are going to have to see separately. First, the short-run aggregate supply, and second, the long-run aggregate supply. Now, the short-run aggregate supply is a relationship between the output that the country produces when some input level is constant. So we'll keep wages constant in the short run. In the long run, everything is variable. In the short run, we'll keep wages constant or at least one input price constant while the output price fluctuates. And we'll see how the supply is going to get impacted as the price level in the economy changes. Now, again, increases in price will cause the short run output to increase. This is what? The short run or the long run aggregate supply? The upward sloping curve is the short run aggregate supply. In the long run, it's fixed. In the long run, we are at the full potential GDP. As price levels change, we already studied, output, people can be overemployed, people may be underemployed if wages are fixed. As price level increases, this will be a movement along the curve. Remember, this concept is exactly the same in micro as well as macroeconomics. Changes in price level cause a movement along the curve. Changes in other factors cause a shift in the curve. Now we are studying the factors that will cause a shift in the supply curve. That is, at the same price level, what causes the supply to shift to the positive side or the supply to shift to the negative side? For the short run, and the first factor affects the short run and the long run both. Labor productivity, if it improves, can move the supply to the right. This was my current. At the particular price level, this is the quantity that was supplied. At the same price, quantity supplied can go up if the productivity of my labor improves, even if output prices remain the same, but my input costs go down because my labor is more productive, then I can supply more at the same price because my cost of production essentially is going down. Labor productivity will improve long run cost also. Labor productivity improving can improve long run aggregate supply also. However, we are studying only about short run aggregate supply at the moment. So for the short run, definitely cost of production goes up. So as input prices go down, these factors remain exactly the same as in microeconomics. As input prices go down, we can supply more at the same output prices. If our expectation of future output prices increases, if the entrepreneur thinks that in the future prices will go up, will he produce more today or less today? He'll produce more, capture that high price in the future. And vice versa for all these things. If labor productivity goes down, supply will go down for the same price level. If input prices go up for the same output price, supply will go down. If expectations of future output prices goes down, vice versa. If government provides subsidies or government gives tax breaks to our industry, for the same price, production will go up or shift to the right. and vice versa. Again, if now see, the impact will be the other way around. Please think it. What will happen if our currency appreciates? If our currency appreciates, it's possible that we will be able to source inputs at a lower price. So the supply curve is here. Output price hasn't changed. Output price is still the same. Only thing that has happened is our currency has appreciated. Now you can say that our demand for our goods may reduce. All that will be shown in the price. If the price is still the same, that means the demand isn't much affected. Even if the currency has appreciated, the price of the goods is the same. What will happen? Will we be able to supply more or less? We'll be able to supply more because some inputs that we were receiving from other countries, the whole world practically imports oil. If the currency appreciates, all these oil related products will become cheaper for the manufacturing countries. For countries like China, India, a lot of, except Malaysia, entire Southeast Asia imports oil. Korea, maybe Japan produces a bit of oil, but entire Asia in general imports oil from the Middle East, Russia, the US, or Middle Eastern countries. So if our currencies appreciate, will we be able to produce more? Yes, because our cost of production goes down. If the currency depreciates, we'll be able to produce less because our cost of production goes up, given the price level remains the same. So again, at the same price level, if the currency appreciates, supply will increase. If the currency depreciates, supply will reduce. The last concept that we'll study in the review on aggregate demand and supply for this session is the shift in long run aggregate supply. Now, this is a tough thing to do. In the short run, all these factors can help you increase your production. Price level goes up. Basically, what we've seen is in the short run, if price level goes up or if cost of production comes down, supply will shift to the right. If costs go up, supply will shift to the left. Prices change, supply will go up or down depending on the price move. Price going up, supply will increase. Price going down, supply will decrease. In the long run, however, things are different because we can't increase supply very easily because we are already producing all that we can. We are already using all our manpower at the current technology, at the current productivity level. Everybody is working and doing the best they can. If they are already doing the best they can, then wherever the price maybe go, we just can't produce more. So how can the long run aggregate supply curve change? This will change if first of all our population improves. If our population goes up, then definitely we have more hands working. So first, supply of labor should go up. A very big problem these days, especially for the developed world, because population rates are not increasing. Countries like Japan, population is decreasing because the fertility rate is much lower than the mortality rate. So supply needs to improve or the quality of labor needs to improve. How will the quality? This is happening. This is happening, but there are also limits to that because people are also fully educated now. But we can improve the quality of labor by imparting skills, training, education, so that the same people can do more work or they can produce more because they're more skilled. So for the long run curve to shift to the right, when we say the long run curve, that is earlier if we could produce this, now as an economy or as the world we can produce higher. How will that happen? Labor goes up or the quality of labor goes up. That is, the human capital goes up. We find more resources. We discover more oil. we discover more uranium, we discover more minerals or natural resources that can help us produce these goods. If the stock of physical capital improves, then again we may be able to improve our output. That is, if more machines are developed and all the workforce now works with better technology or better machines in their hands, then, or rather more machines in their hands, then again they will be able to produce more than what they were producing earlier. And most importantly, the long run aggregate supply now can improve if the technology. So a lot of the increase in world GDP today is happening because of technology, because we are hitting the limits of exploitation of natural resources and the exploitation of labor. So beyond a point, more machines can't help if we don't have people to work them. So there are limits to all these other factors. If technology improves, then labor productivity definitely improves, or the real output improves. So if technology becomes better, then the same labor and the same capital can produce more work. Just as an example, if we are plowing a field, for instance, or we are irrigating a field to produce vegetables or to produce food, we have two farmers working, and the farmers have one tractor or one machinery. They plow the field and they produce the goods. But it was discovered, or somebody found out, that if instead of sowing the seeds in straight line, we sow the seeds diagonally, or we sow the seeds in a zigzag manner, then the productivity of the fruit or the productivity of the plant is better, the pest infestation is lower, and the output can be improved. In such a case, has our labor improved? Has our physical capital improved? But has our output improved? Yes. It is because of better technology. Because we have learned a better way of doing the same thing. So if technology improves, then again with the same machines and same labor, we can produce more, or the productivity can improve. The other way around can increase also. Normally it doesn't happen, but if quantity or quality of labor reduces, then long run aggregate supply can reduce also, but generally it is not seen to happen. Now, once again, movement or changes in prices cause a movement along the curve. Changes in any of these other factors, labor productivity, physical capital, technology in the case of supply, consumer expectations, business expectations, government spending in the case of demand, will cause a shift in the demand or supply. In the coming sessions, we'll study how the interaction of demand and supply brings us to the equilibrium level in an economy, and how does this equilibrium change if prices go up or if input prices go down, so on and so forth. This is just an introduction to demand and supply at a world level or at an economy level.